Triumph Show. I'm Melanie Davis, and today we have a special guest, Chuck Foreman, who is a special operations member of the Army that served during the Cold War and was one of the first in the Middle East during Desert Storm. I'm so glad that you're here, Chuck.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
Yeah, you're a good friend of mine, so I really have enjoyed getting to know you and seeing what you're doing with your life today, which is something we're going to be talking about in just a minute. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about your service in the military. You were over in Germany when the Berlin Wall came down. What was that like?
It was crazy. It was historic, is what it was. That was the end of communism to us, and basically what my grandfather had started. You know, we turned the lights out on in 1989. So it was in Europe it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal place to be in '89.
I remember watching a special video that was done about that and just crying and feeling so emotional as I watched it. I can't imagine what it would be like to actually be there and be part of that celebration, because it looked like it was an amazing celebration to watch those people be liberated from.
Well, even though we were kids, I mean, we're just young kids, 20 years old, you know, but we knew this was big. We knew this was huge, and we knew that we were part of something that was going to go down into the history books as being part of it.
Wow. So it was a big celebration. And
Yes.
then how did it kind of continue? Because I know over here we saw on the news and we saw a lot of neat videos about it, but we didn't kind of see how the evolution of that transition went. What did you witness?
Well, it was party time at first. I mean, the streets were crowded, and it was celebration. It was a happy time. We were happy for Western Germany. Yeah. We were happy that we were reuniting families that may have families over there they haven't seen in decades. So it was just phenomenal. I mean, it was just crazy time. It's Germany, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of alcohol involved. And a lot of free love going on. Everybody was hugging on everybody, happy. And so we all, of course, you went to Berlin. You had to take a swing at the wall with the sledgehammer.
Did you get to do that?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Do you have some pieces from the wall?
I did, but I don't know where they're at anymore. I wish I did. But yeah, we did, go and, take a swing with the sledgehammer. And it was something that was very landmarky as far as my life goes. It's definitely a cool chapter of my world.
That's cool. And then after that, you then went back with special operations and served in the Middle East and Iraq and some of those areas when we were first starting up. Yeah,
when I left Germany, I did go to what they call a quick reaction company, and they were stationed at MacDill Air Force Base because the airport hangars were there, and we kept our wall lockers were ready to go, so. We had the beepers, and anything going on in the world, we reacted to it.
You could be sent anywhere.
Right.
And you were airborne, right?
It's an airborne unit, yes. And so we were there at MacDill. Our place was right on the airfield, and we had a plane that was dedicated for us. And
oh, really? Wow.
And it was the best of the best. It was it was like going from regular Army to just the best. And it was all 4 branches of the military. We were all handpicked to go there. Wow. And it was the best of the best. And you couldn't ask for a greater bunch of people to be involved with.
And you were part of the communications group.
What they did was after Grenada, there was some communication problems between the forces. And basically the Navy couldn't talk to the Army couldn't talk to Air Force, and so forth. So they created this 40-man unit, and we, at that time, it was cutting edge to have the TACSAT, so we were single-channel radio operators, but it was tactical satellite, which meant that we carried them on the back. And at that time, it was cutting-edge technology because you could be walking and be, talking to Utah on a radio in the middle of nowhere.
And that was a big deal back then because
Yes.
That was new technology. But I know you're talking about in your story because we've been working on your story for the next book in the Triumph book series, and you were telling me that your backpack was how many pounds?
It had to be at least 150.
150.
I mean, I would break the center belt piece on my rucksack on a regular basis. Every time you jump off of something,
Wow.
your gut would just snap it.
So you're just carrying this incredible weight and
Yes.
holding up the antenna.
Yeah.
And that's cutting edge technology. So that shows you just how far we've come. And now we carry these little tiny.
Well, it was the
Cell
solar,
phones.
the solar batteries were that's what
Wow.
were the technology hadn't caught up to that. So the solar
Oh.
batteries were still huge and thick and
Exactly.
heavy, along with the radio plus your personal gear.
It's amazing. It just shows how far we've come, though, in
Yeah.
a short time. It was 91, is that right? That you were
Yes,
there?
exactly.
Yeah, and now you saw some very historic things while you were out there as well.
Yeah, we were special operations, and it was 4 branches of the military, and our job was to network the other special operations outfits. So we could be part of a SEAL team mission, we could be a part of a Delta mission, we could be part of a host nation mission, we could be part of a what they call QTF, and but we were always 1 or 2 man teams, and my role, a couple of them, the big one for me was to escort the news reporter Ted Koppel into
Wow.
the Kuwait City. So I was assigned
Wow.
to him.
So you were one of the first American soldiers to actually go into Kuwait City. Is that right?
Yeah,
When you
exactly.
were with him?
Once we were part of the what they call a JTF, which is a Joint Task Force, and it was the Arabic Coalition, and so it was a big deal at that time frame for the Arabs to liberate Kuwait City. And so because I was part of the Arabic Coalition, we rode in. We were the first Americans to ride into the city of Kuwait.
What was that like? What was Kuwait City like?
It was crazy town. Me and a guy named Smitty. Smitty was Marine Corps. We're sitting on top of a Land Rover, and we had a boombox between us, and we had Guns N' Roses. Welcome to the Jungle, just cranked up, and there was
There's a
gunfire
scene.
everywhere. I mean, there's
Wow.
people, they're dancing in the street.
This is like a movie, but for real.
Well, yeah, and they're firing these AKs in the air, and you're like, well, them bullets have got to come down somewhere. So we were, but they wanted us to hold their babies. That was like the thing I remember the most about
The
it. So
people in the city, they were so excited.
I just remember looking over at Smitty at one point, and he had like 5 babies in his hands, and I was laughing. I found it just hilarious.
That'd be a great picture.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
to see Smitty he was a hardcore Marine Corps, and
Are you still in touch with him today?
nah, I haven't talked to him for
Oh,
years,
that's too
but
bad.
I'll never forget his face though. To have all the
Maybe
babies.
he'll see this show and
Yeah.
reach out to you.
Yeah, it was cool.
But you saw some pretty horrific things though when you got into the city, what they were doing.
There was the Iraqis had been in Kuwait for probably over 90 days, so there was a lot of death, and the smell of death was everywhere. We seen the Kuwaiti International Airport; it was tore up pretty good. We've seen where they tortured Kuwaitis. We found I don't know how graphic you want to get into it, but we found people strung up by chains, and they had died from a big lighter. They singed their testicles until they died of shock.
Oh my
We found
gosh.
females strung up, and they had cut their breast off, and they bled out.
Wow.
So we seen some bad stuff,
You saw some bad things.
and we didn't have any training, especially when we were with the Arabs. We didn't have any training on how to clear a city, and at that
Oh.
point, so we were making it up on the fly, how to clear a building, how to clear different things. But
Wow. So a lot of the things they do now, you're the one that originated some of the.
I don't know about originated. We were
Yeah.
we were trying to figure it
Or
out on
learn
the
what to
fly.
do or not, what not to do.
Yeah.
So you were there and saw a lot. I know there's in your stories really some fascinating things. You witnessed at quite a tank battle.
Yeah, that was I was assigned to Prince Van Sultan, he was in charge of the Arabic coalition. He was King Fahd's eldest son. He was an idiot. General Schwarzkopf was constantly getting onto him on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
And here you are in the middle watching it
yeah,
all.
that was the RTO for him, and he decided he wanted to watch a tank battle, and it was at the airport, and it was kind of cool because it was the Abrams, which was our elite, going against the Soviets T-72, which is their elite at the time, and so.
And it was their first time to be matched up head to head.
Yeah, and just to see how we would do.
And how did we do?
We ate them up.
we
ate them up
Go
pretty
America.
good. Yeah,
What were you gonna say?
They did a great job.
Good. So, so you came back from this, And what happened to you when you returned home from being on this deployment?
Well, we came home from Desert Storm, and to be honest with you, I never even fired my weapon during Desert Storm. It was more of trying to face the enemy, but the enemy didn't really want to fight at that point because we had peppered them so hard. We came back for about 5 weeks, and then we returned to the Middle East, and it was Operation Provide Comfort. It was the European theater campaign, but we went into northern Iraq, and we actually lived with the Kurdish people, and we're trying to train them and organize them to take on Baghdad. Because after Desert Storm, while we did not take Baghdad, we did have the Kurds and the Shiites attack, and they both got their butt whooped on both fronts. So we went over there because they were starving and freezing to death. And then in northern Iraq, we went up there.
So you had another deployment. Was a little
Yeah,
that was a lot more dangerous that time.
We had daily contact. We were dealing with we were probably dealing with Al Qaeda and Taliban, and didn't even realize what we were dealing with at the time because we had no intel on the situation.
Wow.
But we had daily contact, and like I said, I had a Black Hawk shot out from under me, and
wow.
so that was an issue. That operation there. And it didn't make the news. Everybody was celebrating in New York City, and we were in the fight of our life. Yeah, we were in the fight of our life at that point.
And I know you were talking about how the tempo was just constant.
It was nonstop.
There was nonstop every day for months.
About 9 months.
About 9 months. I mean, that's hard to imagine, and the effects that can have on your nervous system as you try to come down from that. So when you returned home, you were 1 minute you're over there fighting for your life, the next minute, and you're talking about you're sitting at Denny's. And
yeah. Well, that's how it was. You know,
immediately from soldier to civilian, just overnight.
Survival to civilian, and that was
survival to civilian. Yeah.
That was the difference because they didn't have any quarantine time. They didn't have no debriefing. They didn't have anything, and so because I was already past my PCS point, I knew my system couldn't take anymore. I was hanging on by just a knot at the end of my rope from the operational tempo that I'd been involved with, probably at that point over a year and three months or so, depending with everything. And
yeah, because you were just turned around and sent right back after your first deployment.
Exactly right. So
it's safe to say that you had a fair amount of PTSD that was.
Yes.
That was affecting you and
had no idea what I was going through.
And had difficulty in your life with that.
I got out. I had a lot of money, because I was getting direct deposit and I wasn't spending it nowhere. So I bought a like a little 12-foot single axle travel trailer, and I put it in Green Swamp, and there I kind of conditioned myself to go back into society.
So you had to kind of help yourself through this, essentially. So, and one of the things I really want to highlight about you now is to kind of transition from dealing with all that to the way that you have found some peace and purpose in your life, and I think it's really amazing. It's something I really want a lot of people to know about. It's extremely important, and that is that you have now taken your military training and these special operations skills. And you do something that is. I'm gonna let you talk about that. You can tell everyone that.
Well, we, after getting out of the military, I found a career in security, and security and investigations go hand in hand. And so I own a security investigation company, and through just doing a favor for a friend, I recovered his girlfriend's daughter, who had been taken by a 40-something-year-old dude, and she was 15 or 14 at the time, and basically had her strung out on dope. And the police wasn't willing to help out, so as a investigator here in Texas, I helped out, and I liked it. So, and then I started I did a couple investigations. I ended up doing the Sharon West investigation, and it was a high-profile case, and it was heavy in the media, and eventually I became a person whose name was recognized with missing child recovery work, and I became very busy quickly, and because I didn't charge for it, and I never have and never will, I couldn't keep up. So I had to basically be able to fish or teach others to fish.
Right.
And so I devised a program, and it's under the umbrella of Center for Search and Investigations.
CFSI.
CFSI, Center for Search and Investigations. And basically it's a network of licensed investigators with volunteers, and we're around the world now. And we have two divisions off of it. We have BURN, which is our Bikers Urban Response Needed, which is our motorcycle club. And then we have our Nomad Truckers Against Child Trafficking, which is basically our not found yet division of CFSI. So if we haven't found the child within 9 weeks, we move them over to Nomad to continue on with the investigation and really switch up tactics a little bit.
It's actually ingenious. I love what you're doing. So you're able to use all the bikers that they can get out. They can do a lot of grid searches quickly by being on a bike and helping to get posters out and being involved in that way. Is that right? Is that what the bikers division does? It's to kind of support the investigation that's being done by the...
Right. What BURN is the tactical operations for an investigation group.
Okay. That's great. I love it. And it's something that anyone who's listening to this show, if you're involved in... if you'd like to get involved, anyone can volunteer. I know I've been able to volunteer in different ways, and we can go help put out posters when children are missing. What are some of the websites that people can go to learn more about what you're doing? And
you can go to our main website, which is www.c as in Charlie, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, I as in India, missing, all one word, .org. And from there you can get to our BURN websites, and you get to our Nomad TACT websites. There's no money involved. There's no charges. There's no minimum runs or mandatory runs that you have to go on. It's all about the children. It's all about the cause of returning children.
Take just a moment and kind of define the problem and how serious it is.
The State Department reports 2,200 missing children every day in America. The FBI says a third of them children will be a victim of some form of child trafficking. And that's what CFSI is here to counter. So we all do our part. It's all about returning children. The parameters for CFSI is 11 to 16-year-old male or female missing within 90 days.
Okay, that's good to know. And so it's also something, if there's any parents out there that may have a child go missing, that they can turn to you.
Please do.
Yeah, you're growing and expanding, and it's so important. And you know, who better to do it than you and the experience that you have and the ability to plug in all that training that you had from your military life and of course just your natural abilities as you have. And you get on a Harley. You ride a Harley and you ride all over the nation and assist with rescuing children. How many have you rescued so far?
Me personally, around about 20 so, but as far as our team, which this is what it's about. I may be the spark that started this, but it's outgrown me. It's now about a team effort, and our team has recovered around 100. We've been either direct or indirect, but we've had an effect on about 100 children being returned back to a safe environment, which we call Found Safe.
Found Safe, and it's all about those two words.
All about that.
That's one of your mottos. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you could come and be on the show today and talk about your experiences. And you have such history to share, and what you're doing is so important. And I hope that what you're doing becomes nationally known, and that you can really become the leader because you're doing it right.
We're trying.
You are.
We're putting out the effort, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thanks so much.